Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Fanatic, and today we're taking a look at Bullfrogs, a digital adaptation of the lightweight area control game of the same name by Thunderworks Games. Although I'll specifically be looking at the Steam version of the game, it's also available for Android and iOS devices, and of course, as a physical tabletop game as well. In Bullfrogs, 2 to 4 players will take control of an army of frogs. And yes, army is the proper collective for frogs, though here, the phrase is taken a little more literally than usual. Your goal is to earn victory points by taking control of lily pads as they sink, as well as attempting to vie for dominance on the log in the center of the map. To start each game, there will be the central log card surrounded by 4 neutral lily pad cards. Players will draw 3 cards from their identical 10-card decks and have a pool of 16 pawns, 14 normal frogs, and 2 bullfrogs each. On a player's turn, they begin by taking one of the lily pad cards in their hand and placing it so it's adjacent to 1 or more cards that are already on the table. A card has 3 pieces of information on it. Firstly, the number of lily pads in the top left corner of the card shows how many actions it will let you take on the turn that you play it, ranging from 2 to 4. Secondly, in the center of the card it shows how many frogs can be on that lily pad at once, anywhere from 3 to 5. And finally, in the bottom right of the card is the number of victory points the card is worth, which is identical to the number of frogs it can hold, with the exception of the starting neutral lily pads, which can hold 6 but are worth 5 points each. After placing your card, you may take any actions on lily pads that are in the same row or column as the card you just played. Each action allows you to either place one of your own frogs or sabotage an opponent's. To play a frog, you simply place one of your tokens, either a regular or a bullfrog, on the lily pad in question, though you may only place 2 frogs on a single lily pad each turn. The other action you may take is to sabotage an opposing frog. You choose an opponent's frog and move it onto an adjacent card. You may never sabotage an opponent's bullfrog, and frogs on the log remain there for the rest of the game. After a player is finished taking their actions, they'll check to see if any of the lily pads are at capacity. The active player will then score each of those lily pads in an order of their choosing. First, they count up the total strength each player has on the lily pad, with normal frogs providing 1 strength and bullfrogs providing 2. Whichever player has the highest strength will take the card. If there's a tie for first, no one gets the points. After that, any frogs on the lily pad will attempt to escape to adjacent ones, beginning with frogs belonging to the players that lost on that lily pad. The current player decides which direction they go in, and each adjacent lily pad may only receive 1 frog. Any left on the lily pad sink along with it, with normal frogs returning to a player's reserve and bullfrogs being removed for the rest of the game. This can often cause chain reactions, as escaping frogs that leap to the last free spot on another lily pad will cause it to score immediately. After all eligible lily pads have scored, any isolated lily pads are then moved so that they are again adjacent to other cards. Each and every lily pad must have a path back to the log by time this is finished. Play will continue like this until each player has played all 10 of their lily pad cards, at which point final scoring will be tallied up. Each lily pad card will grant the number of points in the bottom right corner of the card. Additionally, if the card matches the player's color, they'll score an additional point on it. Players will also gain 1 point for each normal frog and 2 points for each bullfrog that they control on the log at the end of the game. Additionally, whomever has the highest score from the log will also gain an additional 3 points for controlling it. Whoever has the most victory points wins. The digital version of Bullfrogs includes options for playing with 3 difficulties of AI, or for playing with other players via either the internet or hot seat play. Additionally, the digital version also recreates the game's solitaire mode. Unlike the physical game, this is not a separate purchase and is included with the game without the need to purchase it as DLC. In the solo variant, you have a dummy player which will randomly move about, as denoted by a bullfrog marker. Although the bullfrog is not actually a piece that's played to the lily pads. You'll roll 2 dice, one which shows which direction that they'll move, and another which shows how many frogs they'll place on the pad that they land on. After they move, if you have any frogs there, they'll first bump one of yours back to your reserve, and then place the appropriate number of theirs onto the lily pad in question. On your turn, you won't have a hand of cards. Instead, you'll merely draw the top card of your deck and play it. Most other rules are the same. However, during endgame scoring, the dummy player's score is subtracted from yours to give you your final point value, after which you'll be given a rank depending on how well you did. All in all, Bullfrogs is an enjoyable little title. Most area control games are grandiose, epic affairs, with very few of them clocking in under the hour-and-a-half mark when played physically. It's not as grand or complex as most of the genre, but it does a good job of distilling the concept into something simpler, lighter, and quicker. The way you can control not only your own frogs, but also your opponents opens up a lot of interesting options. Since losing frogs are always the first to escape from a sinking lily pad, there's always a chance to catch up. Speaking strictly of the digital version, it's certainly not without its shortcomings. The AI is pretty easy to beat. I played mostly on medium and never lost a game that way. And while it was close, I also won my only attempt to play on hard thus far. Additionally, the game was clearly made with mobile devices in mind, and PC was just an afterthought, as it far too often is with these sort of titles. There are zero keyboard controls beyond system-bound commands such as Alt F4 to exit out of the game. On top of that, there is no option to change resolution, nor is there a dedicated window mode. You can force it with Alt Enter if you wish, but this will still keep it locked to 1920 by 1080, making it completely useless unless you have a larger monitor. I'm not asking for ray tracing or anti-aliasing here. I just want some basic functionality that's expected of a game when it runs on PC. Still, despite the lacking implementation, it is a decent adaptation of an enjoyable little game. In conclusion, I find that Bullfrogs is worthy of a solid 7.2 out of 10. As aforementioned, Bullfrogs is available on PC via Steam, as well as for Android and iOS devices. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Bullfrogs? What digitally adapted board games do you enjoy playing? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And please remember to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.